Hey everyone, welcome to this month's second Tuesday. Sorry we're a little late, but we're at a trade show, as you can see. We're at Printing United in Las Vegas, and we're doing an update this month of what's new. So the first thing we're going to talk about related to ChromaChecker, the color conformance platform, is we've introduced our XY table. This XY table is very unique in that today it can support either the Nix or the spherical instrument. So the spherical instrument is an instrument we've supported for about a year now, and it allows us to do measurements for unusual surfaces like many fabrics, mirrored surfaces like metal or foil, so you can get accurate profile information, G7 curve information from it in a very automated way. In addition, this XY table can also support our virtual color bar, which means that you can predefine locations on your press sheet that this is going to measure, so you don't necessarily need to measure the color bar. The device can be pre-programmed to go to different spots on the sheet and measure the artwork off the sheet, much like we do with the X-Rate i1IO today. Last thing I want to mention is that this does accommodate a web press. So if the web is running this direction, you stop the target or the page that you want to measure in this area, let it do its measurement, and then keep that web going without ever cutting the sheet. We've also got the ability to make a 40-inch version of this instrument for a typical offset sheet or more of a larger format web press. So very flexible. The pricing is coming out. Stay tuned, but it's very competitive. You won't find anything like it for the types of instruments it supports. One of the things I found most interesting at this show is that when we'd ask people what their problems are, depending upon what their problem was, it steered us to a different measurement device. ChromaChecker right now supports 18 different measurement devices. We've got many of them here. And a couple of them that came up quite regularly was our ColorX Nano, that allows you to not only measure color, but measure surface characteristics. So for people printing wood grains or tile, things like that, this instrument not only measures the color, but the surface characteristics of the wood grain to make sure it matches to the person's expectations. We're also showing our gloss meter here, which is really useful when you're measuring the glossiness of the end result. So we'll talk more about this sample in a minute, but you can see how glossy this result is, or this sample versus this sample. And we did last month's session just on that. We're also talking to people who've never gotten into measuring color yet, so they're on a real budget. They might only have one printer. This instrument, which is the Calibrate Color Studio, used to be the Color Monkey, for $570 allows you to manually strip read your color targets and do spot readings and do lighting readings from one instrument. So for a starter instrument, this instrument has been a real hit here at the show. The next thing I want to mention is a follow-up to our ChromaSpot library, as well as our Color Match Scan, which we covered last month. Color Match Scan allows you to take the color library of, let's say, 3,000 colors. ChromaChecker automatically makes a PDF that you can then measure using a IO or an ISIS or a Miro 9 from Konica Minolta. Soon we'll include a regular I1 in there. But we predict the colors, let's say the 3,000 colors in the ChromaSpot library, we predict which colors are in gamut or out of gamut in that printer. You can limit it to only in gamut colors on multiple printers if you want. And then we make the PDF, and you print the PDF through your workflow, measure it with your automated measurement device, and then ChromaChecker iterates the colors on the build to make the color that's defined as the reference. And what we've got here are multiple swatch books done on multiple papers with multiple surface finishings from multiple printers that all match one another. And as you take a look at this, what we see is the delta E difference of each color to the reference. So this one's 0.2. This one's 0.2, this one's 0.3, this one's 0.2, this one's 0.1, this one's 0.3. And you see that on all the colors through multiple iterations using different surface characteristics on the paper, such as lamination and aqueous coating, things like that. You can dial that color in to the exact reference color that is defined from the cloud. And now you can have, and this works with our ChromaSpot, but this works with any color. So you can make your own color library and be able to build swatch books anywhere in the world. As long as the printer has those colors within the gamut of that printer, you can build these swatch books and they'll match, unlike many other swatch books on the marketplace. So I've shown this to a number of people and they've been absolutely excited about all the capabilities this provides in terms of communicating color to your clients. Now we're showing it in a swatch book mode here, but we also have added the ability to print out a poster that you can put on a wall, so that if you have a large format shop, you can have the poster with all these colors lined up in the order of the ChromaSpot library. So you've got your red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, remember the Roy G. Biv, and then you've got your lightness from top to bottom, and then you've got your saturation inside out. So however you want to organize these colors, you can organize them, print them, and of course the naming is such that I can tell you the name of the color, and you can know, once you understand the naming convention, what the color is. So for instance, Rich Red is a 8, and 8 is the saturation. Saturation goes 0 to 9. So if I tell you the color's 8, R4 is the hue bin. So R4 is red and R4 is in the middle. And then a 62, that tells you the lightness level. And that actually is Rich Red. So instead of me giving you a number like PMS XYZ and you have to know from experience what color that is, I can give you the number 8R462, and you know that's a very bright red. So this is part of the beauty of the ChromaSpot library, and we've had a number of third-party vendors come to us about getting the SDK for the ChromaSpot library so they can start building the ChromaSpot library into their solutions, because it's an open architecture color library, which we're not charging anything for. So if you're interested in that, give us an email and we'll be able to answer more questions related to it. Something else that's new with the ChromaChecker software is we've started adding messages within Capture for the operator. So one of the messages that we added is if you're running on an inkjet printing device, and if one of the densities of one of the primary colors is light, and it's light through the tone scale, we can pretty safely assume that the nozzle is clogged. And so we'll actually, when I scan this sheet off of an inkjet printer, it comes up at a 20 E factor and it says, hey, it appears that the magenta nozzle is clogged, please clean it. So this is something we're continuing to add to our software to not only tell the operator you shouldn't run production, but you need to fix it doing this type of maintenance to get that printer back running in production and making money for you. Another key area that came up multiple times at the conference was our snowflake. Delta E, even the 2000 equation, is flawed in the regard that at a certain delta E, let's say 2 delta E, and by the way, we have a tool called Variator that shows you every occurrence of a 2 delta E for any given color, and you can scale it to go from 1 delta E all the way to 6 delta E at half delta E increments. So it shows you every combination of those colors. And when we show the Variator, you'll see that on certain colors at 3 delta E, you might be okay with 70% of them, but 30% of the 3 delta E's to your eye still looks too big. And so when a customer sees that, they want you to go down to 2 delta E. Well, 2 delta E from a manufacturing perspective gives you very little latitude with most printing devices on the market to hit that consistently. So what Snowflake allows you to do is Snowflake allows you to take that tolerance and then help the customer pick out what level of difference in the positive A, positive B, positive L, negative L. So you can draw a shape around here of which colors are acceptable and which ones aren't. And now you have a tolerance based on individual delta L, A, and B, plus and minus, which is 6 times more accurate than using delta E. I was part of the development of delta E 2000. And even in 99, when we were doing the final tests, we saw that there were still colors that rendered what I would say more appropriately to your eyes expectation in delta E 94 than delta E 2000. But we fixed a lot of colors in delta E 2000, but there's still a lot to be desired. But as an industry committee, we said there's not math available to fix it due to the non-uniformity of the LEB color space. So breaking delta E into 6 components, 6 individual components, and being able to visually set each of these as tolerances eliminates false fails and false passes when you're printing spot colors to exacting requirements. So I had 2 people stand right here say, this is the bane of my existence, is dealing with false fails and false passes with delta E. Snowflake completely changes the way I can do my business because you never get false passes or false fails anymore. And it's based on that customer's expectations, which is what matters. So this Snowflake is quite the tool. And just to show you, you can configure the Snowflake multiple ways. This way, it doesn't show you the reference against each patch. It doesn't even show you the delta E. These are options you can turn on and off. And this makes a customer a lot more, shall we say, accepting of differences as we're looking at the color. Whereas if you put the reference below each color, people can be more picky because you see the color in close proximity and they're more demanding in terms of what they accept and they don't. These are all options within the ChromaChecker software, and if you haven't checked it out, please take a look at it, especially if you're dealing with spot color tolerances. We're still at Print United Trade Show, and right here we are showing the swatchbook feature from ChromaChecker and the ability to iterate colors to match one another. And what we're looking at here, 8 different printing processes. We're actually in a light booth, so you can see, I'm focused on the first page, which is the gray, which you're most apt to see a difference. And we have not only 8 different printing devices, but different surface characteristics. So some of these are laminated, some of these are matte, some of these are a dull finish. And in each case, the colors were iterated to the reference off of this. And so you can see this one's 0.2, that's 0.1, that's 0.2, that's 0.2, that's 0.1, that's 0.2, 0.3. That one's a 4.3, so that one's the biggest difference. And then some of these others, they probably could have used another iteration because they're 1.9 there, but they're 0.2 here, 0.3 here, 0.4 here, 0.8 here, 0.3, 0.4, 0.3. So this is the beauty of the ChromaChecker color match scan function, in that you can create library of colors on different papers with different surface characteristics on different printing devices and get this level of a color match between them. This is really unique in the industry, and for anyone trying to communicate color and show samples, this is a phenomenal example of what's possible. And of course, it doesn't have to be in a swatch book. I mean, I could quickly change to a certain page and show you a different color in the swatch book, but you could print these colors on a big poster to put on the wall, and no matter the printer that you're manufacturing this with, as long as the colors are in gamut, you'll have a color match across all your printers and hit customer expectations with ChromaChecker. I think that kind of covers the highlights from the show and what I've seen around the show for this conference. And stay tuned for next month's second Tuesday seminar. Thank you.